Hi, hello, I'm Dr. Michael Dempster. I also run the Mind Your Language website, and we've just started, myself and Laurie Watson have just started in Glasgow, a Scots language cafe where anybody can come along. It's free. It's the first Wednesday of every month at the Project Cafe in the city centre. That's a place where folk can come along and discover more about their own language, and we kind of talk about how Scots works and how our language is different from standard English, and the peculiarities and things like that. So it's a place where we can safely explore and use your own language, no matter what you want to do with it, just for tweets, or if you want to write songs, write plays or anything, but just to explore Scots. So one of the things that we work with is getting folk comfortable actually saying that the language that they speak is Scots, rather than some kind of corrupt version of English. At the minute there are folk that prefer not to use that term. They would rather say that they use a northern variety of English. Usually this is folk that have been, particularly in Glasgow in the west of Scotland, this kind of idea that they speak a kind of working class language, but that doesn't really make much kind of linguistic sense. From a linguistic point of view, the language variety of Scots is quite well established. So we kind of look at it from my point of view as a kind of more scientific, neuroscientific kind of way of looking at language. And that's a stance that I think is quite powerful, because it allows you to identify what your language is in comparison to the kind of standard English that's taught in schools. Kind of North England, what was Northumbria, new Northumberland, so north of the Humber. The variety of English that was spoke there is the root of what became Scots. So as Scotland post-Norman invasion kind of the border kind of went across from maybe Redcar to Preston, and that area in the east of Scotland. That's at the east of northern Britain. That's where the kind of roots of Scots came from, and through the development of the borough system and things like that, we had different folk coming in from France and the Netherlands, different kind of areas like that made Scots a kind of unique variety of the Anglo-Saxon kind of languages, and it diverged, diverged quite a lot. And if you look back, even like 700 years, we've got 700 years worth of literature, and a massive period of 400 or 500 years where all the courts and all the borough records are in Scots. They all use words, grammar that are used the day, just the words you'll hear in any kind of scheme in Glasgow, that you'll hear all over the lowlands of Scotland and into the Highlands and all. That's a new kind of area of research where folk are looking at marginal Scots, so it's like Gaelic speakers and how they spoke Scots before they get put across onto the standard English after Gaelic was kind of prohibited for education. So it's a different language variety, and it's quite clearly a different language historically, and different roots to loads, thousands upon thousands of words. And we've got things like the 1,000 most common words in English. About 50% of them are different in Scots. So like hon, hand, and heed, head, and armpit and oxter, things like that. So we can be radically different or somewhat the same, and sometimes they're near enough the same. So like leg and leg is pretty much the same in both languages. So they're related, and I don't think anybody should be insecure about that. You can still say that it's a different, separate language variety that works as a whole language, without being beholden to standard English or that. And I encourage folk to learn how to speak standard English as well, because why would you know? The world's your oyster if you learn that. But that doesn't mean you have to fling away Scots. And nobody forgot Scots for learning English, and nobody forgot English for concentrating on their Scots. I've been doing that. I've been writing, running events, so a lot of stuff that I do is like art music in Scots. So I do like operas. So we've done our third opera this year. It's a translation of Purcell's Dido and Aeneas into Scots and Gaelic. last year I done the Magic Flute. Before that we worked on Charpentier's kind of chamber operas. So we've done that kind of thing. I'm trying to introduce Scots into kind of more, what would you call it, high art or whatever. But I work a lot with like pop songs and folk songs and things like that, I know. So for me, high art and low art, they're all art. So you've got to take that kind of approach. So for a singing point of view, I've got a book coming out that's defining a kind of standard way of approaching singing in a Scots accent. Because I grew up in the folk scene, a load of folk in that scene, they sing with Irish accents for Scottish songs and things like that. So it's quite hard to come into your Scottish accent with singing, and a few bands are doing it now. Twin Atlantic, Las Vegas, Biffy's coming across into their own accents, whereas before growing up, I didn't know half the bands were Scottish because they all sang with a kind of mid-Atlantic American kind of accent or an English accent. So I've wrote a book about this for folk that want to kind of explore singing in their own accent for pop music or whatever kind of singing. So that's one of the things that I've got going. It claims that an American accent is a singing accent, right? But I think that's complete havers, right? We learn through imitation. So I learnt all folk songs and that through singing for my family and that, and they sang with Scottish accents. So there's some songs that I learnt singing in Scottish accents, but I came up playing like metal and grunge and stuff like that, so you wind up with that kind of grunge accent and you're singing. And we do that because it's imitation. But rhythmically, the Scottish accent is quite different for American accents, and it's quite different for English accents, and it's different for things that English and American and Australian accents all have in common. Scots doesn't. Even Irish is at points similar, more similar to American or English. So we had a tradition, a popular singing that kind of came up to like Harry Lauder and all that. But in the 60s, that was, we're folk music, we're traditional music, but that kind of get laughed at. And so the Scots folk revival, you had folk singing, like maybe Billy Connolly's got a wee bit of a Scots accent, but that was kind of ridiculed a wee bit. So you've maybe seen Billy Connolly's sketches where he's laughing at the Scottish singers roaming and the gloaming and all this kind of thing. That's the one. Aye. So this cringe came in your culture, probably with recorded music. If you go back and you listen to the likes of Harry Lauder, he puts it on a wee bit, but it's just kind of normal Scottish singing. But folk imitating Harry Lauder put it on more and more, and you get this kind of fake Scottish accent that comes through. So, but folk are starting to get more confident in it now. So, like, if you're wanting to imitate Las Vegas or Twin Atlantic or what have you, Gyro Babies, aye. So you'll get that. There's more and more coming through, and it's like we're building a pop music tradition again. But there's some wee pointers that we kind of need. And folk will sing. Generally, they'll sing in the English language. So you'll get. Trying to think of an example off the top of my head, but if you listen to these bands, they're no singing in Scots, they're no saying heed and horns and heart and all that stuff. It's head and hand and heart, and so they'll sing in the English language but with a Scottish accent. So there's two kind of threads to that, and part of it's the training. So like we get trained in standard English, and so actors get trained to talk that way. And then they start putting the Burniston sketch quite good, because I think Rob Florence is one of the best out there. Him and Lemmy have got brilliant ears for the language and how Scots works, how Glasgow Scots works and that kind of thing. Generally, that's how they talk about it. And in the sketch, he's about enunciating T's. So you want to go there rather than you want to go there. You know, where we use a glottal stop, glottal and butter. And rather, so actors get taught to say butter and, you know, glottal stop and things like that. Tuna, yeah, that's the one. But that's called yod dropping. So for that, where you drop the e sound. So actors are doing that now. So you get tuna and better rather than better, or, you know, better. So you're getting these Americanisms coming in, which functionally are actually good. You're more likely to get a job in America if you speak standard English and you have these Americanisms, you know, like that pun in America, do your duty in America is do your duty, and that everybody laughs at that because the T turns to a D. If you talk that way, you're more likely to get employed in America. But I think actors should be able to do realistic Scottish voices. And for the films and plays and stuff that I've worked on, what I've found is actors that have got more Scots in their own voice, they find it harder to actually do it when they're acting, because they're constantly correcting themselves when they're acting, and you get this kind of River City accent. And in the BBC, their policy is that they allow the folk that are acting and the folk that are presenting to use their own natural voice. But what that actually means is, by the time that you have gone through all you have today to get onto the BBC, you've adopted this kind of dominant ideology where you think that you have to speak very properly every time that you're on the TV. Every time you see a red light come on in a camera, you have to speak in this very strange voice that I'm doing the now. That kind of affy-queer, kind of River City voice. So what that means is it's left to the BBC, and these actors think that that's how they've got to do it. But you different things like Brian Cox, when he done Shetland, he learnt Shetland dialect, and he learnt thousands of Shetland words, and he learnt the accent, and he used the grammar, and they filmed it, and they came back, and the BBC seen the rushes, and they says nobody's going to understand that, away back and record it on standard English. So there is a combination of self-censorship and the kind of feedback for the producers within the BBC. So these are things that need to become part of the kind of national conversation. We need to get that out there and say we don't want folk talking this bizarre kind of River City accent. But no harm to the actors that are on River City. But it's a kind of queer thing that we put that on. And if you ask somebody to be Scottish, they'll go with the rs and all that kind of stuff. That's how actors I experience when I'm working with them. I say, no, be more normal, be more Scottish. And they put on this hookter, chuchter kind of voice that's just as false as the kind of River City one. It's queer situation. I think the different actors have got different approaches to it. I know there's vocal coaches there, folk that work with modern kind of Scots, and there's one of the things that comes in is it's this kind of tokenism Scots, where they'll have one or two words in it, you know, they'll say, oh, Sassenach, and things like away and bile your heed, and things like, you know, you'll get these wee phrases that are kind of dropped in for authenticity, but again, it's for an American audience, so they do speak a lot of standard English. It's no Scots, you know, like if you give me that, if you give me the script, I could go through it and show you that it's mostly standard English, you know, that's what kind of comes through. So there's a wee bit of tokenism. I mean, I think we're a wee bit further for it as far as like Hollywood and that, where you would get folk putting on their Scots accent, you know, like Brigadoon, and then through like Disney, what would be a good example for Disney, like the wee dog in Lady and the Tramp, and then you've got Brave, where they actually employ some real Scots in there, but they've also got like the famous folk that are good at aye, so even in Brave you've got some Scottish actors, but a lot of them are actors that are kind of Will Kent to do Scottish accents, but to Scottish ears they don't really sound that Scottish. So we're a wee bit further for it, but we've got to mind that these things are being made with American money for American audiences, so there's a kind of certain, they're not wanting an authentic Scot, they're wanting a Scot that they can understand on their kind of terms, so they're not wanting like kind of broad Glaswegian Scots or any kind of Scots or a historical Scots or anything like that. They're not after any of that carry on. A lot of writers will do that, and I find that is when I work as an editor. I find folk their scripts are riddled with these kind of Americanisms, and it goes a way back. It goes a way back. You see it in poetry, going back where there's obvious American influences in this. Tune the Fat, I think they lightened it up a lot of it, and they do make jokes about the language. So the likes of like Stanley Baxter, Parley Amo Glasgow, has kind of written the piss out of how Glaswegians speak. It's running all the words together and all that kind of stuff, and you get that if it's some of the humour that comes from like Scotland, the what and that, and Tune the Fat's kind of in that tradition where it's ridiculing the Scots language. So like Rab McGlinchey translating for the Neds, right? It's kind of funny in one level, but it's making fun of the way that folk talk. And I think they managed to get rid of the phrase "gonna no doing that." How no? Just gonna no, because it became such a catchphrase that folks stopped using it. That was part of our kind of natural language. That because it get highlighted and became something to get laughed at. That was the punchline. It kind of knocked it out of the folk saying that. So folk, you don't hear folks saying "gonna no" so much as you used to, because we all get made aware of it. And that was the same thing as Parley Amo Glasgow. It stopped folk actually saying some natural Scottish grammatical constructions because it was being made funny in the telly. Now, something like you spoke about Rab Florence and Burness and stuff, now that is more kind of celebrating the language, and Limmy and all, he kind of celebrates the language, and he looks at Americanisms coming in, like a sketch about the pharmacy, Lloyd's Pharmacy, and for pharmacy rather than a chemist, folk understanding this. So I think we've got folk that are sticking up for their own language, and these are folk that I don't know if Rab Florence or Limmy would actually call it Scots, or they would just say it's Glasgow dialect, or however they're doing it. Doesn't matter what they're calling it, they're sticking up for the language, and what they're doing is they're funning jokes within the language and no jokes about the language, and I think that's a much more positive way to kind of approach things for comedy. But why analyse it? You know what I mean? Just kind of enjoy it. So I've worked in Govan for, I don't know, 20 odd years, on and off, doing kind of artistic stuff and filmmaking and various things like that. So kind of put across a week just to run hundreds of events with wains over the summer and things like that, exploring Scots language, local Govan language, and the community, and got to put on some of the work that I was doing with the opera, some music and that. We've done some comic stuff. We get places all over Govan to put up this sign instead of exit. We had out. Look at that. You want to look at that? So we get out signs, and it was kind of just like asking folk what. It was just kind of asking folk about how come we never see your words wrote down in Govan, and what I done. I worked with the Govan Stains, Govan Stones. So they're the ancient Viking stains, that are Viking era stains that are in Govan Old Kirk. And it's set up as a museum. You can view it throughout the summer, and I changed all the interpretation, everything that you read, explaining everything into kind of local Govan Scots. So it will say, look at the stain here, it was curved by some masons that will not know who they are. Maybe introduced a couple of words like Ken and things like that, and into the interpretation and all. And folk were really, it was a big eye opener for folk that were like that. Well, I can read that. It took me a wee while to read it, but once I get the hang of it, it was quite good. And with some comic making exercises, and I showed off some of the comic stuff with displays of Ur Willie and the Bruins art and things like that. So I was able to bring that kind of in and all, and folk were joining in, folk were loving it, and they were starting to kind of mind all these words that they'd not heard in years and things like that their grannies used to say, and all that carry on. And they were exploring their own language and saying, well, I used to say that. And I mind that person was called Watson afore and now they're Watson, and you know, observing these kind of wee changes and how the language of round about govern has changed over the years. So that was brilliant doing that, and we hope to run again next year. I think it's pretty artificial. I think Scots could have a lot more government support. There is some government support. It should be in a level with Gaelic. Scots and Gaelic have got totally different kind of setups. You know, Gaelic is needing more support. Scots has got 1.6 million declared speakers plus more on top of that. I think a lot of folk are wary of considering Scots as being separate from English, which is a kind of issue. But I think anybody that's kind of setting Scots up against Gaelic I think they're at it. I think they're deliberately trying to divide the two language communities. Generally, that's a kind of approach. Anybody that's apparently doing it seriously, because if you've got any thought about minority or minoritised languages, you realise that everybody's fighting the same fight, that we're all basing our rights to be able to speak our own language on the same principles. So setting them up against one another is kind of it's kind of cynical. I think it's quite cynical. In terms of like Gaelic road signs and Gaelic railway signs and that, I'm all for it. I think there should be more Scots ones. I think we should have road signs that say Glasgow, that say Edinburgh, that say Aberdeen, places like that. You can think yourself how many places have Scots names and have local kind of names, you know, like George's Square. It's always been George's Square. It's no George Square. Or the Briggate. That's Bridgegate on the signs. Brigden, aye. So like everybody, all your Scotland kens us. You know that this is your place. Everybody's got a Bray Head that's been anglified into Bray Head. You know, so there's hundreds of room for having these, and there's a lot of them that are that their anglification makes no sense at all. So like Kelvin Hall or Socky Hall, they're Scots places. That's the word haw, which means kind of low area with trees and things like that, maybe a kind of wet area. And that's been anglified into Hall. You know, there isn't a hall on Socky Hall Street. You know, that Sock's a willow, just in case you didn't ken that. Kelvin Haw, that's because it's down the side, the haw down the side the river Kelvin. And then they built a hall, so it became Kelvin Hall. So a load of these, they didn't make sense at all. And I think they kind of remove our relationship for our land and stuff like that. It's something that should be approached and explored. And I think with the Gaelic signs, there's an opportunity there for learning a wee bit of the Gaelic. For Caerdonald or something like that, or you know, it's the Castle of Donald, or you know, you kind of get these things. There's wee mistakes get made, like Bishop Briggs being the bridge of the bishops, but it's actually Riggs, which mean a ridge or a spine or something like that. So they get the Gaelic wrong in a few of these wee things, and all kind of famously. But I think as a whole, I think we should be exploring both the Gaelic and the Scots place names throughout Scotland, and there's no fecht between the two, you know, that kind of thing. Should glory in both of them. And I think with Scots and Gaelic, they're kind of unique because they're the ones that are native to Scotland. So supporting English doesn't need done, because you've got America, you've got England, you've got Ireland, you've got all these other countries that use English that support that language. But Scotland is the only country that is able to support Scots and Gaelic languages. And it's about accessing our history, I know, and that's one of the things with Scots. We had 400 or 500 years of records wrote in Scots, were court records, were borough records. You'll read about folk getting jailed, and it's on Scots. You read about what they've done. They've dinked somebody with or milked somebody with a hammer and things like that. So these verbs and nouns and all that kind of thing, they all exist. And I found a lot of my words going back 700 years. You know, like tomb or pan for your skull. That's in the literature. It's in the actual legal language of Scotland, going all the way back there. And before that, you've got Gaelic. I know, so it's no used for borough records, but it's used for kind of history and our shared history with Ireland. So one of the things I'm working on now is that I'm translating a comic, the Cattle Raid, a Coolie, into Scots, and I'm working with somebody to get it into Gaelic. I know, so these are the kind of stories that were part of the history of both Ireland and Scotland, and we can access these with these languages, Scots and Gaelic. You know, it is about creating contact with our ancestors, but getting a kind of understanding of the culture and how Scotland is the way that it is, and it's evolved over the years. You know, these are skills that connect us with this historic past, and for it to be prohibited, it's kind of cutting us off of our own history, which is quite a serious thing. You know. Aye, so I've been making comics for years now, and what I started doing was putting them into Scots. So this is the first manga in Scots. It's called Gima Regards to Jock Do, spelled Do, DHU, Scots meaning black. You can have a wee look online, you can search for that, Jock Do, and you can get the first chapter for free. So this was a manga produced in Japan that I've put into Scots here. So you've got like the main character here saying, I just slept for 12 hours. Or that's me being in here more than 24 hours for yesterday morning. Aye, me too. So when you start actually looking at how folk speak, you realise just how much Scots is in our kind of language. So I've done this into Scots, and this has been quite well received. Folk are enjoying it, because it's no like Oor Willie style comics I'm interested in. I'm interested in comics that, you know, you maybe hit about 14, 15 years of age, to adults covering all different themes. So this is a Japanese comic. It gets a wee bit gruesome there. It's about life in the emergency room in hospitals. It's about the Japanese NHS. So there's some quite interesting kind of moral dilemmas and all that come up in this. So it's really an interesting story that I was quite glad to translate. So I done that, and that was quite well received. And this week, what I'm doing now is I'm launching a new Scots language anthology. So it's called Screeve. Aye, so this is Screeve. I'm just launching it this week. I've worked with loads of different independent comic artists for around about Scotland. So some folk producing their own stuff. This is Cat Neville's The Wildcats. And then the likes of this with Will Pickering, this like top class artists, and these are kind of Victoriana murder mystery kind of stories you've got in there. Some of them are set in just locally. This is Simon Dickey's Malky Dungeon, and we've got sci-fi ones here. So it's all folk using Scots, just how we would naturally use Scots day to day in situations like aliens exploring space and all that. This is Dave Alexander. He's an amazing artist, and this is his theory about how Fitba started. He's got that as part of the kind of Jacobite uprising. So that's an awfully good one. Some award-winning sci-fi here for Colin Maxwell. Some really dark kind of horror stuff in here. And it's all try to keep it natural, kind of Scots, everyday Scots kind of language in that. So they're just available. I'm going to have them on my website soon, so you can get a hold of them. And the next comics project is The Cattle Raid, a Coolie, the Antane, which I'm translating for Irish. into Scots and into Gaelic. So this is the story, first Irish language epic story, which was kind of known about in Scotland and all. So getting this together for the next thing.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant.
So you can find out all the things that I'm doing. You can have a look at my website, mindyourlanguage.scot, and there'll be a link to all these comics coming up soon. So that's what I'll be doing. And you can follow me on Twitter at Dr. M. Dempster, and give us a shout for anything. Every Wednesday, the first Wednesday at every month, is our Scots Language Cafe and all. So come along to that.